Hello students, welcome to this video. In this video, I am going to explain the data types of MySQL and how we can create a table and how we can see the structure of the table. These topics are covered in this video. First, let's look at the data types. For storing characters or string or text type data, we have two data types, that is CHAR and VAR, char or varchar. So let's see the difference between these two. First, let's see the similarity between these two. Both these data types are used to store strings. Then we can store 1 to 255 characters in both the cases. We can store 1 to 255 characters if you are choosing this data type. Then, another similarity is if we represent the data inside it, we must enclose that within single quotes or double quotes. In both the case, we need to enclose that within the single quotes or double quotes. And as I already said, maximum you can store 255 characters in both the cases. Then what is the difference between these two types? I will explain that with the help of an example. Suppose I am declaring CHAR of 10 and another varchar of 10. Then what is the difference between these two? Let's find out. For example, I am declaring char of 10 to store a name, a student name. Suppose the name is Mini, M-I-N-I. For storing the name Mini, we need only 4 characters. But in the case of char of 10, it takes 10 characters. The extra 6 spaces. After storing Mini, there is 6 spaces. That 6 positions will be right padded with spaces. It is filled up with spaces and totally it takes 10 spaces for storing the entire name Mini. But if we are storing this same Mini in the form of varchar, for storing Mini, it takes only 4 characters. So for storing Mini, it takes only 4 characters. Rest of the area is not filled up with any space. So it exactly taking the same size of the data what we are storing. But in the case of char, the extra space will be right padded with space. Now let's see the numeric data types. Numeric data types, using these numeric data types, we can store numbers with the decimal places, or you can simply store integer numbers like this, 76, like that. Positive or negative numbers can be stored. Let's first look at this decimal. Decimal, from the name itself it is clear. We can store number with or without fractional part. This is used to store numbers with or without fractional part. That means the decimal parts. Then, while mentioning a data type decimal, we need to supply 2 values. First, the size. Size means the total size, including the decimal places. Then, second, this D means the decimal numbers, how many decimal positions we need to specify. That is mentioned by this D. Now let's see the integer. Integer, as a short we can say int. Integer means it's a positive or negative integer number. For that we can use int or integer. Now let's see the date and time data type. Date data type means storing the date. Normally we store the date in YYYY format. Then time, hours, minutes, seconds format. So date, no need to say the size, it is specific size. Time also it is specific size. So size is not relevant there. For rest of the fields we need to specify size. Now let's discuss the rules for forming variable names, field names, table names like that. So what are the permutable characters? The permutable characters are letters, that means alphabets, the numbers or underscore. Underscore means shift plus hyphen. No, it's not hyphen, shift plus hyphen. See, no other characters are allowable, all other characters are invalid. So these are the examples. First underscore name, last underscore name, emails, MTSS, underscore KZHY. These are the examples of field names or table names. Now let's see how we can create a table. To create a table, the command is create table. Then you have to supply the table name. Along with that, table contains columns, right? So we need to give the definition of those columns also. So we need to specify the definition of the columns within these brackets. Within this bracket, we need to mention each column. Column information means if we are telling the column information, definitely the column means it definitely has a name. Then we need to specify the data type of that column. These two fields are compulsory. Then we have two optional uh, data also, that is one is the size of the data type, and second is the constraint. If suppose we are setting the primary key, you can specify that using this constraint. Let's see an example. Create table student. Then within the bracket we are specifying each columns. Roll number, we are giving the data type as integer. Then name varchar 25, gender char 1, gender male or female, F or M is enough, so one space is enough. Marks decimal 4.1. Then after that no more fields need to be mentioned, so we are not putting the comma here. Then after that closing the bracket and putting the semicolon. We constraints also can be mentioned. That means we can give some primary key if we are setting a foreign key or not null, unique. All those things can be mentioned here. But here I am mentioning only two things. One is not null and second is primary key. Not null constraint means we are telling that field cannot be null. That means we can't keep it empty. That is the meaning of that. Primary key that we already discussed in the last session. Then primary key. To setting the primary key, you can give primary space key. Now, let's see some example. In this example, we are creating the table workshop. Look at the fields. The fields is already given in the question. That is simply given as it is, and also mentioning the primary key here. And after specifying everything, we are closing the bracket and putting the semicolon. You can go through these questions also. Go through these questions and write the answer for this question. And some next, I'm going to explain how we can see the structure of the table. For seeing the structure of the table, the command is describe. Describe, or as a short you can give DESC. It will show the complete details. What's the field name? What is the data type, size, if it's any primary key set, unique key set, foreign key set, all those things will be explained. So that's all in this video. Just go through it, and thank you.